So I wanted to go over a couple of things that we've discussed and just kind of try to clarify them. And one is the very difficult subject of attachment. I have gotten people's feedback on what they understand attachment to be after I spoke about attachment. And but it's not an easy subject. That's part of why. And the other is compassion, that I don't talk about so often, but also is not an easy subject. So I'll start with compassion. Compassion is very misunderstood. And if you go around to various Zen groups and things like that, you will see an atmosphere sometimes of kind of do-gooderism that people think has something to do with compassion, and it really doesn't. Compassion in Buddhism in general is an understanding, not an emotional state. Let me repeat that. Compassion is an understanding, not an emotional state. Okay? And this is the way it was taught to me. You have this hand, you name Mary. Okay? And this hand, you name Joe. And today, Mary, for some reason, decided to have some beets. So Joe is a little envious. Okay? And now Mary's upset with Joe, and Joe gets himself caught in a fire, and Mary is a little peeved with him, so she doesn't want to pull him out because she might get burned. Okay. Now they're not doing too well. Mary's got a bracelet. She didn't pull Joe out of the fire. Mary's got an itch someplace, and she can't scratch it herself. It's on the back of the hand, and Joe won't scratch it. Okay. Then one day, and then also Mary's got a ring. Joe doesn't have a ring. He's not happy with that. One day, they both become enlightened. And what they realize is that they're actually part of the same body. That they're actually, yes, there's a left, and yes, there's a right, but they're part of this body, so they're actually one thing. Now, when Mary has a ring, Joe doesn't mind, because when Mary has a ring, Joe has a ring. When Joe's in trouble, Mary pulls him out. This is enlightenment. The difference is not a difference in emotionality, it's a difference in understanding the nature of reality. And so on a broader scale, how it might play out is, if you don't have an understanding of the oneness of the world, then ideas like bombing in countries and stuff like that make perfect sense, and they do. Once you do have an understanding of that, like even really, let's say, very materially, that you could bomb a country and it'll blow up the whole planet. Once you understand the whole thing is one, the weather is one, the people are one, then you act differently. Okay, so this is compassion. Compassion is not the idea that you are going to suddenly feel sorry for, take pity on, or care emotionally about people who you really don't. That's especially obnoxious when you really don't and you're just acting like it. So this thing, this compassion that comes out of the Buddhist teaching is not stupid like that. I don't know a better word. It's not stupid, it's not new agey, it's an understanding of the nature of reality. Second part, very related, attachment. Attachment is not wanting this or that and trying to get yourself so that you don't want what you in fact do want. Now that becomes, again, a kind of exercise in stupidity, right? You really, really want a Mercedes. Or you really, really want to sleep with your neighbor's wife. Now, You don't have to do either of those things, okay? But to say, okay, I am going to stop wanting these things and that I'm going to learn to be detached from this. It's not true. You do want those things. That's not what not being attached is. It's not pretending to or acting like you don't want things that you in fact do. Now some of you don't want Mercedes and you don't want to sleep with your neighbor's wife or husband, so it's not a problem for you. For most of it it's not. But I'm using that as an illustration. You can't be, there is no part of the practice that is about being dishonest and self-deception. So if that's what's happening, that's not the practice. Now, not being attached is this. Not being attached is simply living in the real world. In the real world, as you investigate it, and the way I do this, because I use a lot of also Tibetan teaching with you as teaching, because they have more of a teaching thing than this. You can come to conclusion by experience here, kensho I call it, daikensho, or by rational thought. And we use rational thought to some degree to analyze the real world. In the real world, everything changes. In the real world, when you achieve a dream, it doesn't make you happy forever. In the real world, if you do get to sleep with your neighbor's wife, there's going to be a lot of stuff that goes along with it. It's not going to be just your fantasy, as is getting the Mercedes. It's not going to be just your fantasy. In the real world, everything is connected and has cause and effect with each other. In the real world, you're going to die shortly. In the real world, the people that you knew 20 years old look very different now. You look different. Friendships come and go. Family members come and go. Everything changes. To act like you can grab things in a stream where everything moves is attachment. In a sense, it's just being unrealistic.